One millionaire discovers a baby in a basket, an incredible truth that changes everything forever. The sleek lines of Jack Thompson's luxury car glided through the quiet streets of Maplewood, a town where every brick felt like a greeting from a neighbor. Tonight's charity gala had been glimmering chandeliers and forced smiles, a spectacle meant to paint him as the benevolent millionaire. But behind that facade, a wave of loneliness crashed down on him. He honked, impatient, crossing the familiar sight of the Rodriguez family's diner, their flickering neon sign seeming to beg for attention amid the shine of his own wealth. Just when Jack thought his evening couldn't get more mundane, something unusual caught his eye as he pulled to the curb. A small wicker basket lay on the steps of the diner, its fraying handle swaying lightly in the breeze. Heart racing, he stepped closer, and what he saw dropped like a stone into his chest. A baby, swaddled in a tattered blanket, tiny fingers curled around a handwritten note. The world around him faded, sounds muted. Memories of his own childhood tugged sharply at his heartstrings, reminding him of simpler joys, a hug over a shared meal, love that shimmered despite scarcity. "Hey, little one," he breathed, lifting the baby into his arms. A wave of protection washed over him, shadows of his own upbringing flickering in his mind. The baby's innocent gaze locked onto his, and suddenly, something shifted within him. Over the next few days, as Jack grappled with the logistics of caring for a newborn, he found himself drawn to the diner and its warm, bustling atmosphere. The Rodriguez family became like family to him, their resilience in the face of hardship a bittersweet reminder of what he had traded for success. They shared laughter over greasy fries, but amidst that joy lingered the harsh conversations of layoffs and bills. Their struggles highlighted the vastness between his life and theirs. One afternoon, he overheard a whispered discussion that set his heart racing. The baby's mother, a terrified young single mom battling demons he had never faced. The townsfolk debated her choices, wrapping her life story with threads of responsibility, privilege, and solidarity. Jack's stomach turned. What do they think of me? He wondered. An affluent man who fixed problems with money, yet knew nothing of their struggle. He felt exposed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned to weeks, and the baby thrived under his care, becoming a living thread that connected Jack to the local community. With every late-night lullaby, he turned towards the warmth of the diner. But just as he began to weave himself into the fabric of Maplewood, whispers shifted towards a darker revelation about the baby's origins, a story that could tear everything apart. Caught between two worlds, Jack faced an agonizing choice. Would he continue to build bridges, or let the ghosts of his past push him back into solitude? With each layer of community peeled back, the urgent question stirred within him. Would he be the bridge they all needed, or the nail in the coffin of their shared hope? Days grew longer, stretching into a web of sleepless nights and fragile connections. Jack cradled the baby in his arms, feeling the warmth radiate from that tiny body, reassuring him amid the chaos that threatened to unravel his newfound purpose. The baby's soft breaths became a soothing mantra, a promise of hope that pulled him deeper into the fabric of Maplewood. Yet, persistent murmurs around town loomed like dark clouds above his head, threatening the fragile peace he had carved out. One afternoon, Jack found himself at the diner, the air alive with the scent of fried food and freshly brewed coffee. The Rodriguez family buzzed with their usual energy, laughter peppering the conversations that spilled from tired lips. In that lively atmosphere, the heaviness from the outside world felt distant, almost non-existent. Yet he couldn't ignore the rising tension. A storm was brewing, and its wrath was aimed squarely at him. "Jack," Maria Rodriguez said softly, gathering her apron as she leaned closer. "There are some folks who are worried about you taking care of that baby. They're saying bad things." Her voice faltered, betraying her concern. He felt the weight of her words like stones in his chest. "What do you mean? Some think you're only doing it for attention, to cover up your wealth with good deeds." Others wonder if the baby should be with someone more suitable. Silence enveloped them. Outside, a group of townsfolk gathered, murmuring and casting furtive glances in his direction. Jack's heart raced. How could they think that? The baby was a lifeline, not a prop. It struck him. Too much of his life had been spent in an echo chamber of luxury, where truth often blurred with illusion. I'm not trying to win anyone over, he replied, voice low but firm. I just want to give this baby a chance, something I wish I had when I was younger. His words felt raw, like an exposed nerve. Maria nodded, her brow furrowed. You're doing a beautiful thing, Jack. But it's a hard town. They want to understand easily. Just be careful. Not everyone is going to want to see you succeed in this. A chill swept through him, but he steeled his resolve. He had to push back against that darkness. As he rose from the booth, determination surged within him. He stepped outside, the crisp air filling his lungs. Jack squared his shoulders, facing the group of townsfolk gathered outside the diner. I know there are opinions about my decision to care for this child, he began, their eyes trained on him, curiosity teetering on judgment. But I can assure you, I am committed to this baby. This is about love, not appearance. Nervous murmurs spread through the crowd as he forged ahead. I understand this town has its scars, its struggles. I want to be part of the healing here, not the problem. If you have questions, I stand ready to answer them. But then, out of the corner of his eye, Jack noticed someone within the crowd who stood apart, a young woman with haunted eyes staring back at him. The world around him faded, shrunk to just her and him. It hit him then, the baby's mother. In that instant, the realization crashed over him like a wave. Would she be a part of their lives now, a link to her past, and all the pain she carried? Would they be able to work together to forge a brighter future, or were deeper fractures about to surface? As her gaze locked onto his, he knew only one thing: everything was about to change once more. Who is she? Jack wondered aloud, unaware of the storm that was brewing just beyond the doorstep. Jack swallowed hard as he met her gaze, the urgency of the moment twisting in his chest. There was something electric about the woman, a raw energy that pulled him in, yet it radiated fragility. Her ethereal beauty was shadowed with uncertainty. He could sense her heartache, a mirror reflecting his own. Who are you? He asked, pushing past the crowd that felt like it was closing in. Her name is Lila, a voice called out from beside him, startling him. It was Maria again, this time her expression serious, protective. Lila, the baby's mother. Jack's question hung in the air like a warning bell. Lila took a tentative step forward, her eyes flickering between Jack and the baby in his arms. I'm not here to cause trouble, she stammered. Her voice was soft, but strong enough to break through the whispers that swirled around them. I didn't know who he was with. Confusion washed over Jack. Her words sparked a million questions in his mind. Did she want the baby back? Was she here to take him from him? The last thing he felt he could bear was to loosen his grip on the one connection he found in this chaotic time. I understand you're the baby's mother, Jack said carefully, fighting to remain calm despite the tempest brewing inside. But why now? Why show up here? I heard things, Lila said, looking at the ground, avoiding his gaze. That someone was taking care of my son. I didn't expect it to be you. She hesitated, disbelief clouding her features. I didn't expect anyone to care. Caring is all I can do, Lila. Jack's voice softened, tinged with compassion. He needs stability. He needs love. He shifted the baby in his arms as if to emphasize his commitment. The townsfolk were more silent now, their curiosity piqued as they watched the scene unfold. Some had exchanged worried glances, uncertain of how this confrontation would proceed. Lila's eyes finally met his, and he saw pain and regret swirling within her. Can I hold him? Every fiber of Jack's being screamed to protect that baby, but he nodded slowly. The way Lila reached out with trembling hands broke his heart a little. It was as if he was handing over a precious treasure. As he leaned toward her, he felt the thrum of fear vibrating through him. Lila delicately took the baby, cradling him against her chest. For a moment, they were both lost in the connection mother and son, a fragile bond that tugged at something deep within Jack. He wanted to comfort her, but he couldn't shake the unease that this could be a turning point, an end to what he had started. What are you planning? He finally asked, voice barely above a whisper, the threat of uncertainty heavy in the air. Lila's brow furrowed. I just want to be a part of his life. I missed so much already. The crowd leaned closer, sensing the gravity of the situation. But why now? Where have you been? A mix of anger and concern found its way into Jack's voice. I've been lost, she admitted, tears forming in her eyes. Jack felt his heart soften at the sight of her sorrow. Just then, an older man from the crowd spoke up. She has a past, Jack. One the town knows about. Are you sure you want to get involved with that? Jack's mind raced with implications of her past swirling like fog. Would this past haunt them? Would it unravel everything he hoped to rebuild? The question hung in the air, taunting him. Is there any hope for a future? He thought, feeling the tether of their connection stretched dangerously thin, still unsure whom to trust. Maybe you should hear my story, Lila said as the crowd held its breath, hoping for a resolution but trembling with fear of the unknown. And Jack prepared to listen, not fully realizing the profound impact her words would have on everyone involved. Lila took a deep breath, her voice shaky but steady. I was young and scared, she began, her words cascading out like a river that's finally found its course. When I had him, I thought I was ready. But I wasn't. I panicked and ran away. The weight of those words hung in the air, heavy with regret. Jack felt his stomach twist at her admission. It was more than he had anticipated, but part of him bristled against her excuses. You left him, Lila. That's a hard decision to come back from. I know, she shouted, frustration flaring in her eyes. I didn't know then how to keep him safe. I didn't know who I was. I thought leaving would be better. Tears streamed down her cheeks, a rushing river that mirrored Jack's own turmoil. The crowd murmured, each person processing her story in their own way. Some cast pitying looks her way, while others exchanged skeptical glances. Jack felt the tense air suffocating him. In that moment, Lila didn't just hold the baby. She held hope, desperation, and a plea for forgiveness all at once. Where have you been all this time? Jack pressed gently, the edge of his voice dulcet but direct, demanding the truth. She wiped her tears but couldn't hide the emotional storm brewing in her eyes. I struggled. I lost myself in a place I thought I could escape my past. I made choices I regret every day. What kind of choices? The question slipped from his lips before he could stop it. The mom in front of him was revealing herself, and Jack was caught between compassion and caution. I got involved with the wrong people, made risky decisions. But I'm not that person anymore. I found help. I'm trying to do right by him now. I just didn't know how to find you, she confessed, her voice trailing off. Jack's heart wavered. He could sense the honesty in her voice, but could he trust it? The baby wiggled in her arms, cooing softly, a gentle reminder of the innocence caught in the middle of this emotional cyclone. What if I tell you the truth? What if I say you can't just waltz back into his life? Jack spoke, searching her eyes for signs that she might be ready to face the consequences of her past. I know it won't be easy, Lila stated. But I love my son, Jack. I promise I'll do anything to earn your trust, to make things right. The crowd's whispers intensified, leaning this way and that, carrying the weight of Lila's truth like a feather floating on the wind. Jack could feel their judgment, the divide between sympathy and skepticism. But it was his heart that wrestled most fiercely. For a moment, silence enveloped them against the murmurs of the townsfolk. Jack wrestled with the memories of sleepless nights spent worrying, dreaming of a family he could barely see. I need time to think, he blurted out, each word straining against his throat. This is too much. I need to protect him. I understand, Lila whispered, her voice trembling again. I just want a chance. That's all I'm asking for. Please. Jack looked back to the baby in her arms, feeling his face crumple with emotion. Regret and hope danced in the air, spinning around their stories like a chaotic waltz. What if she could be trusted? What if she could change? Now, he stood at a crossroads between the past and an uncertain future. Would he allow this woman, with all her faults and heartbreak, to be part of their lives? The answer slipped into his mind like shadowy vines, intertwining with every hope and fear he held. What if there's more to her story? Jack whispered under his breath, the words barely escaping his lips. And just then, Lila's expression shifted, revealing a flash of something deeper, a secret waiting to be unveiled. The very air around them felt electric, charged with possibility. Jack, there's something else I need to tell you. The crowd, drawn closer still, held its breath, teetering on the edge of this revelation. What was it that could change everything? Lila's gaze dropped, as if the weight of her confession hung too heavy for her to bear. She tightened her grip on the baby, clutching him as though he were her lifeline. The crowd leaned in, anticipation electrifying the air. Jack felt his heartbeat quicken. This was a moment that could define their futures. "I've kept something from you, something important," she finally said, her voice low but steady. "The reason I left it was more complicated than just fear." Jack swallowed hard, every muscle in his body tensing. He felt a mixture of impatience and curiosity bubbling within him. "What do you mean?" he asked, keeping his tone gentle, desperate to draw it out of her. "The man I was with, he wasn't just anyone. He was involved in things that put us in danger." Her voice quivered, but she pressed on. "I had to leave to protect him, to protect both of us." "What kind of danger?" Jack's mind raced, suddenly aware that this was no ordinary story. The whispers in the crowd swelled, people shuffling slightly, hungry for the details she was about to share. Lila inhaled deeply, steadying herself. "He had ties to some pretty dangerous groups. I got involved without knowing the full history. By the time I realized, it was too late. I could see how angry and unstable he was, and it scared me. That's why I left." Jack felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. This wasn't just about love or regret anymore. It was about her survival and the safety of the child. "And you think coming back now will make everything okay?" He was still unable to shake the doubts swirling in his mind, even as part of him responded to the gravity of her truth. "I'm not asking for forgiveness right away," she rushed to explain, her voice earnest, eyes glimmering with unshed tears. "I just needed to tell you the truth. I thought about you both every day since I left. I want to be part of his life. But I also want you to know that I am not the same person who left." Jack's heart sank as he looked between Lila and the baby. "So what are you hoping for? A fairy tale reunion? This isn't just about you. He is my son. And you can't just waltz in and expect things to be easy." "I know it won't be easy," she said softly. "But I'm trying, Jack. I promise I'll do everything I can to earn your trust. I've been working hard to turn my life around. I've been to therapy, and I've stayed away from those people." There was a pleading look in her eyes, one that made Jack's resolve falter. Yet, somewhere in the back of his mind, an alarm was blaring. Could she really leave that life behind? Could he risk it all on her promise of change? As Lila's voice lowered, cutting through his thoughts, he heard one final revelation. "And Jack, there's one more thing, something about the baby. Something that ties him to me in ways you can't imagine." Jack could feel sweat bead at the back of his neck. "What do you mean?" he pressed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I was pregnant before I left, and there's a reason I couldn't keep him safe." The crowd gasped collectively. All eyes turned to the two of them, awaiting the truth that could change everything, the truth about the bond that Lila had shared with the baby, and the truths hidden in the shadows of their past. Jack's breath caught in his throat. What could possibly follow this? What did it mean for their little family, for the life they were trying to build? "Jack, I need to tell you who his father really is." As that hanging sentence lingered in the air, vivid and charged, Jack knew one thing for sure. Everything was about to change. Jack's heart raced, his thoughts a whirlwind of confusion and anxiety. Lila's next words could unravel everything. The air felt thick, almost suffocating, as the crowd leaned in closer, anticipating the truth that lay just beyond the precipice of her mouth. "His father is someone powerful," Lila finally confessed, her voice edged with a mixture of fear and determination. "Someone you think you know." Jack's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" He took a step closer, his voice a low murmur, barely contained panic slipping through. "Who?" Her answer seemed to hang in the air like a heavy cloud. "The man I left, he is connected to a family that wields influence in ways you can't imagine. A family that has a reputation. A family tied to danger." Shock washed over Jack. "Are you saying the child?" His voice trailed off. He had heard rumors, whispers about certain powerful individuals, names that sent shivers down spines. "You can't be serious." "I am," Lila replied, tears spilling from her eyes, glistening like tiny glass marbles. "He is my son. But Jack, he is also the grandson of someone who runs a large crime syndicate. I thought I could protect him by leaving, but now I realize I was running right into the heart of it." The crowd buzzed like a disturbed hive, gasps and hushed murmurs threading through the onlookers. Jack felt as if he were swept into a river of uncertainty. How had it come to this? And now you're back, Jack said slowly, as if testing the weight of each word. What do you want from me? What do you expect to happen? I want to keep him safe, she pleaded. I thought being away would erase the danger, but I know now it's only just begun. They'll come looking for him. Her hands trembled, clutching the baby closer to her chest. I need your help to protect him, our son. We have to stay ahead of them. The gravity of her words sunk in. Jack's mind raced to the moments he had spent away from Lila, the daily grind punctuated by fleeting thoughts about what could have been. And now the reality of their situation bore down like a hammer. We need to come up with a plan, he replied, more firmly now. If what you say is true, then we have to take immediate action. We can't stay here. Her eyes widened, gratitude mingling with desperation. Thank you, Jack. I can't do this alone. It's going to be a fight, but I'll do anything for him, anything to keep him safe. Jack nodded, his heart heavy but resolute. This was no longer about their relationship. It was about a precious life in his arms. But you have to promise me, Lila. No more secrets. No more running. We face this together. I promise, she said, her voice steady now. I'll share everything I know. As they stood together on the verge of an uncertain future, a plan began to take shape in Jack's mind. They had to act fast and decisively. Lila's past loomed like a storm cloud over them, but together, perhaps, they could weather it. Just as he was formulating a strategy, a deep rumble of an approaching vehicle broke the tension. Jack's got twisted. Do you hear that? Lila's expression mirrored his. Her eyes darted toward the street. We need to go. Now. As they turned to leave, Jack's heart thudded in his chest. This was all happening too fast, and the weight of their situation felt crushing. Could they really escape the past? In that moment, a solitary question echoed in his mind. Were they truly ready to confront the dangers lurking just beyond their doorstep? The rumble grew louder, and Jack knew their time for action had arrived. He had to act, and fast. But would they be able to protect what they had just begun to build? The stakes had never been higher. The sound of the approaching vehicle grew louder, thumping against Jack's ears like the beat of a war drum. His instincts kicked in. This wasn't just a simple drive-by. He grabbed Lila's arm, urgency coursing through him. We have to get out of sight. Lila nodded, her eyes wide with fear, and they both darted down an alleyway, clutching the bundle that held their future, their son. The brick walls towered around them, shadowy and confining. But there was no time to consider the claustrophobia that crept into the edges of Jack's mind. What are we going to do? Lila's voice trembled as she tucked the baby closer, her anxiety palpable. They'll find us. They always find their own. Not if we move fast, Jack said, forcing confidence into his tone, even as a cold knot formed in his stomach. We can't let them have him. Not ever. He searched the narrow alley, looking for a way through. The distant engine noise was getting closer, threatening invading their fragile bubble of safety. Let us head to my uncle's shop, Jack suggested, pointing towards the end of the alley where the street opened into a busier intersection. He has a back entrance. It's not far. Lila bit her lip, crossing her arms protectively around the baby. Are you sure? What if they see us? Jack's thoughts raced. It's our best shot. We'll blend in with the crowd. If they're looking for you, they won't expect to find us in plain sight. Without waiting for a reply, he took off, leading Lila down the alley with swift, purposeful strides. His heart hammered in his chest as they emerged onto the bustling street. People rushed by, unaware of the storm brewing behind their casual smiles. Jack and Lila slipped into a small shop, the bell jingling overhead as they entered, but the sound didn't bring comfort. It only amplified the weight of what they were trying to escape. Jack, the shop owner looked up, surprised to see him. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be not now, Uncle Jim. We need to use the back exit. It's urgent. Jim's eyebrows knitted in concern, but without another word, he beckoned them toward a door at the back of the shop. Jack pushed through, adrenaline surging as they stepped into the alley behind the store. Okay, we need to get moving, he urged, scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. He caught sight of a few parked cars and thought rapidly. We can take one of these. Stealing a car? Jack, it's not stealing if we return it later, he said, desperation coloring his voice. Lila, focus. We don't have time to think about the what-ifs. They approached the nearest car, a rusty sedan with a less than inviting exterior. Jack quickly checked to see if it was locked. No such luck. The door creaked open. Get in, he urged, and Lila hesitated for just a moment before sliding into the passenger seat. The baby nestled securely in her arms. As Jack started the engine, it sputtered and coughed to life, grating against the silence. He pressed the gas, and they rolled out of the alley, blending into the chaotic street as if they belonged. Heart racing, Jack fought to keep his eyes on the road. Every rear-view glimpse felt like a countdown to disaster. Would they be pursued? Would they make it? Where are we going? Lila asked, her voice strained between fear and hope. Anywhere but here, he answered, tightening his grip on the wheel. We'll figure it out. Together. But the uncertainty weighed heavily as they sped away, the chaos of the city behind them closing in like a drawing net. As night began to fall, Jack felt a chilling realization settle in. The truth about their son had changed everything. Their old lives, the safety they had taken for granted, vanished like shadows in the dusk. How long before they come for us? Lila's whisper cut through the tension, desperation creeping back into her voice. Jack's stomach twisted again. As long as it takes, he replied, and that raw honesty hung in the air like a storm cloud. But as the city lights flickered around them, one question burned bright in Jack's mind. What would they sacrifice to keep their family safe? Little did they know, the challenge ahead would test every ounce of their courage. Hold on, he murmured, determination igniting within. And just then, a flash of headlights appeared in the rearview mirror far too close for comfort. The headlights grew brighter, swallowing the dim street behind them. Jack's pulse raced like the engine beneath him. Each thump of his heart echoed the urgency of their escape. He could almost hear the distant whir of pursuit, could almost feel their relentless grasp nipping at his heels. Jack, they're right behind us. Lila gasped, clutching the baby tightly, as if their little one could sense the danger and was searching for a safe haven in his mother's arms. Just hold on, he snapped, not wanting to frighten her more, but he could feel panic creeping in. He whipped the car around a corner sharply, the tires squealing. He needed to think. He needed a plan, something to shake the shadowy figures that wanted to take everything from them. Where are we going? Lila's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. I don't know, he admitted, hating the desperation in his own voice. Anywhere with fewer people. Someplace more hidden. Jack noticed a small park just ahead, its trees dark and inviting. He caught a fleeting glimpse of a few cars parked under its shadowy cover. There, he shouted, his decision locking in place like freshly laid concrete. The park promised chaos in another way, a place where they could slip away among the foliage and hopefully lose their pursuers. He pulled in sharply, glancing over his shoulder to see the distant headlights follow, narrowing the distance faster than Jack's hopes could keep up with. As he slammed the car into park, Lila wasted no time. She was already opening the door, her instincts sharper than his panic. Let us go, she urged, her eyes darting around, searching for the safest way out. They climbed out quickly, Jack keeping the car between them and the approaching lights, before they ducked into the thick undergrowth. He could barely breathe, the air stifling with dread and urgency as they hurried deeper into the park. Over here, Lila whispered, her voice urgent but still somehow steady. Jack followed her lead, knowing she had a knack for finding the safest spots in moments like this. They settled beneath a dense cluster of bushes, molded close together as if the earth itself could shield them from the creeping hands of fate. He could hear it now, the growl of the vehicle coming closer, almost like a predator on their trail. Jack squeezed his eyes shut for a moment, trying to shut out the fear that encircled him. A tenacious will fought to break through, his love for Lila and their son blazing brightly, pushing him to keep moving. Jack, what if they find us? Lila's voice was a whisper in the dark, laced with a fear he could feel deep in his bones. We won't let that happen, he replied, trying to summon a confidence he didn't feel. We just have to stay quiet. For what felt like an eternity, they huddled together in the darkness, mere shadows beneath the sheltering branches. Jack could hear the footsteps of the pursuer, an echoing stomp that made his heart ache with both fear and anger. He dared to peek out from their hiding spot, daring to hope they might have missed them. A tall figure loomed near their car, moving with purpose. Jack's heart sank as he recognized the silhouette. It was someone they couldn't escape, someone who had been tracking them. What do we do? Lila asked, her voice shaking, tears glimmering in her eyes. Jack wrapped his arm around her, drawing strength from her presence. We hold on to each other. We'll figure this out, no matter what. But as he watched the figure approach, another terrifying thought crossed his mind. Would they really be able to protect their son? Would they be strong enough to face whatever danger lay ahead? A moment of silence hung between them like a fragile thread, and Jack realized that the night's darkness was only just beginning to close in. If this was only the beginning, what was coming next? Unbeknownst to them, a deeper truth was about to surface, one that would shake the very foundation of their lives. The figure turned suddenly, and in that instant, beneath the moonlit shadows, Jack's breath caught in his throat. This confrontation would change everything. Jack's heart hammered in his chest as the figure stepped closer. The moonlight revealed features he couldn't forget. Daniel, a former colleague with a dark past. The man had once worn a charming smile, but now his eyes held a cold, hungry light, a predator surveying its prey. Jack, Lila. Daniel's voice cut through the heavy silence like glass shattering. What a surprise. Didn't he expect to see you here? What do you want, Daniel? Jack's voice lowered, a mix of anger and fear threading through each syllable. Lila's grip tightened around their baby, and Jack could feel her trembling next to him. Want? Oh, just a little chat. You know how hard it is to find family. Jack could feel Lila's heartbeat echo through her arm. You've got no business with us, he said, trying to sound braver than he felt. Actually, I do. Daniel stepped closer, invading their makeshift sanctuary like a dark cloud. I've been keeping an eye on you since you've gone off the grid. You left behind a very valuable connection. I'm here to offer a kind of reunion. Reunion? Lila echoed incredulously, her voice barely above a whisper. We want nothing to do with you. Daniel chuckled, a low, unpleasant sound that sent chills down Jack's spine. Do you really think you can just disappear? I've got leverage. And the cute little bundle you've got there? Priceless. Jack's stomach twisted. What are you talking about? Why, you're ridiculously unique, baby, of course. The powers at play are much bigger than you think. They want what's theirs, Jack. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. They'll stop at nothing to get what you are hiding. We're not hiding anything, Lila retorted, her voice stronger now, though the tremor remained. You're wrong, Daniel. You have no idea what you're talking about. Don't be naive, Lila. There are organizations that go to great lengths to get what they want, especially when it comes to children. Jack felt a cold realization dawn on him. Every instinct screamed to protect Lila and their child. Stay away from us. You don't know what you're messing with. Daniel straightened up, regarding Jack with an amused expression. Oh, I think I know exactly what I'm doing, he said, his smile widening. And I can promise you, you're in deeper than you realize. The sound of the distant engine grew louder, an ominous reminder that they weren't alone in the park. Jack sensed the urgency thickening in the air. Let us go, Jack whispered fiercely to Lila, but she stood frozen, her eyes locked on Daniel. Jack, we can't just run. We need to understand, no. We need to protect our son. Panic surged, squeezing the words from his throat. We have to move now. As they started to edge backward, Daniel suddenly reached into his pocket. Jack tensed, adrenaline firing through his veins, ready to shield Lila and their baby. Do you even know who I work for? You're outmatched, Daniel said, pulling out a sleek phone. And those headlights? He gestured casually behind him. They're the least of your worries. Trust me, they won't let you slip away again. Time slowed as Jack watched Lila's expression shift from fear to defiance. She stood at his side, fierce and resolute. If you're here to threaten us, then you should know we're not afraid of you. Jack felt the strength of her words, and rage fueled his determination. Maybe it was that very strength that would help them defy the odds stacked against them. Let us go. Now, he urged, adrenaline pumping, but deep down, Jack knew they were running into something bigger than they had ever faced before. As they turned to escape deeper into the shadows of the park, a sense of dread washed over him. What had they really stumbled into? And as the reality of Daniel's words sunk in, Jack wondered if their escape was just beginning or if it was the start of something far darker. What unseen danger lay ahead? They darted through the shadows, the moon casting racing silhouettes of their worry onto the ground. Jack nudged Lila, urging her to move faster. Each hurried step echoed their urgency, pulsing through the stillness of the night. He felt the weight of their situation pressing down on him. The stakes had never been higher, and with each breath, He could sense the danger closing in. "Where do we go now?" Lila panted, her voice trembling but fierce, determination lacing through her fear. "Just keep moving towards the tree line," Jack replied, his heart thudding wildly, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The distant sound of the engine grew louder, ominous and haunting, reverberating in the night air. Lila shoved branches aside, pulling him toward a cluster of trees. They ducked beneath the dense cover, their surroundings dark and engulfing, an uneasy sense of safety enveloping them. They stopped for a moment, but it felt too quiet. The anxious anticipation of being found gnawed at Jack's insides. "Jack, what if they really do take him? What if we can't keep him safe?" Lila's voice trembled as she clutched their son even closer, her makeup smeared but her fierce love still shining brighter than the moon above. "Lila, we will protect him," Jack hissed back, trying to instill a shared strength between them. "We'll figure it out, I promise. We just have to trust in each other." The sound of footsteps echoed through the darkness, heavy and deliberate, a taunting rhythm resonating as they got closer. Jack felt a primal instinct kick in. He looked at Lila, their eyes locking in a fierce understanding. "Stay low. Stay quiet," he instructed as they pressed deeper into the shadows, anxiety pulsing in the air around them. He was determined to keep them united, their fragile family intact against the looming threat. Just then, a voice broke through the silence, a commanding bark that sent icy chills down Jack's spine. They can't have gone far. It was Daniel's voice. "Spread out, find them." Lila gasped softly, clearly struggling to contain her panic. "Jack," she whispered, scared and vulnerable, but still focused on their child. "Just breathe," he urged, his voice steady. "We can't let them catch us, no matter what." They crouched lower, hearts racing in rhythm, as the sound of hurried footsteps began to circle around them, drawing closer with every second. "We need to move," Jack began, but then, in the distance, a loud horn blared, slicing through the quiet night. An engine roared almost directly behind them, and Jack's heart surged with a surge of hope. Surrounded by trees, they could hear the faint sound of a city street life pressing forward just beyond their reach. "Look," Lila pointed, and Jack followed her gaze, eyes locking on an old, rusted truck parked at the edge of the clearing, nearby but hidden from the sight of their pursuers. Each beat of his heart quickened, a fragile plan forming in the back of his mind. "That truck, it might still work," Jack murmured, excitement bubbling beneath his anxious facade. "Can you get it started?" Lila questioned, her voice a mixture of urgency and hope. "Let us try." Jack's pulse raced with both fear and determination as they maneuvered through the trees. They heard shouts, drawing closer, voices mixed with anger and urgency filling the air. Jack glanced at Lila, urgency tying them together as they made their way to the truck. "Stay close," he commanded in a whisper, and with hurried movement, he reached the driver's side door. To his dismay, it was locked. "Simon, please," he pleaded silently with the truck, adrenaline fueling his actions. With a swift kick, he jolted the door, and to his surprise, the lock clicked open. "Get in," he exclaimed, ushering Lila and their baby inside as he jumped into the driver's seat, fingers gripping the steering wheel tightly, heart racing with purpose. She better still run," he muttered to himself as he turned the ignition, praying. The engine sputtered and grumbled before finally roaring to life, a chorus of an old machine reborn. "Now, drive," Lila urged as she clutched their baby, anxiety lighting her eyes. Jack slammed the gearshift into drive and peeled away, clouds of dust spiraling behind them as the tires squealed against the gravel. Each bump jolted them, but the exhilaration of escape surged through him. Just as they broke through the tree line, the headlights of a nearby car illuminated their path, and Jack's heart pounded as he realized they were not alone. "Stay low," he shouted, taking a sharp turn down a narrow side road, while the mysterious vehicle pursued behind, headlights straining against the darkness as they hurtled down the road. The chaos behind them blurred into the rearview mirror. Jack focused on the road ahead, breathing deeply, tearing through the sense of an impending doom, every second a reminder that they needed to escape. His heart surged with hope, knowing their family was still intact. Suddenly, they could see the lights of a nearby gas station flickering ahead. "There," he yelled. "There's safety, we can call for help." Jack pulled into the deserted lot, tires screeching to an abrupt halt. The looming shadows grew around them, pushing every ounce of fear to the surface. They hopped out of the truck with the baby still cradled in Lila's arms. "Go inside. Call for help," Jack commanded, his eyes scanning the lot for their pursuers. "What about you?" Lila's worry creased her brow. "I'll check outside." "Just go," he replied forcefully. As Lila rushed inside, Jack felt an electric surge of determination wash over him. They had each other. They had their son. And they would not back down. Crouching behind a nearby dumpster, Jack ensured he had a clear view of the road. His heart thudded like a war drum. The sound of sirens began to rise in the distance, and Jack embraced every ounce of hope that surged within him. It was time. They would fight for their future, for their family. Against all odds, love would carry them through this storm, growing stronger, and Jack knew they were ready to face whatever came next. But almost as if fate had other plans, a dark figure emerged from the shadows. "Jack." Lila's voice called, cutting through the tension, her cry teetering between fear and a desperate hope. He turned in her direction, fear rooting him in place. "Now," she beckoned, her eyes wide as her words ignited a spark of urgency. With one resolute step, Jack knew this was a pivotal moment in their journey, the moment they would transform their fear into strength. The shadows were gathering, but together, they would withstand the storm. Every decision, every storm they had navigated personally reached this point, a sacred bond between them as a family now tested by the tides of inevitable conflict. Jack dove into action, ready to meet whatever came. United by their love and resilience in the quiet whispers of the night, Jack finally felt a flicker of hope. Their fight had only just begun, but they wouldn't fight alone. And with that thought energizing his spirit, Jack rushed towards Lila, knowing this time they were taking control of their destiny. Now was their moment, a fresh chapter they would write together. But only if they dared to face the truth ahead. As the first light of dawn broke across the horizon, illuminating the path of hardship and healing, Jack felt the power of transformation ripple through them. They were no longer victims, but warriors ready to reclaim everything they believed in. And as the whispers of hope intertwined with determination, the treacherous journey unfolding before them, life was indeed waiting on the other side. Now, the real journey would begin. Don't forget, this is the time to stand with us. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. We need to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans like you understand the importance of these actions.